Welcome to Monday Night Bloodline. They should just rename the show. I think they need a new logo. I think the opening theme song for Monday Night Raw should be Roman Reigns' theme song, and they should just call it Monday Night Bloodline. Because if you were wondering if the Bloodline story was going to be taking over Raw for the foreseeable future, you kind of got a glimpse into what you can expect probably for the next 6 to 12 months. If you are a fan of the Bloodline stuff, if you are a fan of the Bloodline Reformation, then you will love tonight's episode of Monday Night Raw. If you are not a fan of the Bloodline stuff, well, I got some bad news for you. But we'll start with what happened at the end of the show, because the big match tonight was the King of the Ring semifinal match between Femi and Dominik Mysterio, the winner of which would be going on to the finals in Riyadh at Night of Champions. So who would punch their ticket to the finals, Oba or Dom? It seemed like a mismatch coming into it. It seemed like this was going to be a glorified squash. And so you start thinking, well, it's almost too obvious that Oba is going to go in there and just destroy this guy. There must be something up their sleeve. Perhaps it's a large man from Saskatchewan who's going to be making an appearance here on this show. Or maybe there's some other twist or turn or swerve or something that they had planned here. Not that I wanted to see Dom go to the finals. I'm not advocating for that. But they played it straight. We got exactly the match that we would have expected. We got a match where Dominik Mysterio was dodging and ducking and doing everything he could to try to avoid this man. JD McDonough was in his corner trying to help him out. Didn't matter. Oba just destroyed them both. And one fall from grace later, and Femi is going to the finals of the King of the Ring. It played out exactly the way that we all expected it to. And when the match was over, Oba got on the mic, and again, unprovoked, he brought up Brock Lesnar. He said, he always talking about how in the finals, it doesn't matter if it's Jey Uso, it doesn't matter if it's Javon Evans, or maybe Brock Lesnar. All of a sudden, his name was invoked again, and he flat out said, he acknowledged the fact that he was expecting Brock to show up tonight, which I kind of liked, because here we have an example of a smart babyface. He saw it coming. He was waiting for it. He had a plan for it. But Brock Lesnar never did show up tonight, which can only mean one thing. He's going to be boarding the private jet to Riyadh in a few weeks and making a surprise appearance on that show. I don't see how he can't. I don't see how he doesn't at this point. He's being called out weekly by this man. He got called a bitch last week by Femi. So it makes it that much more likely that we will be seeing him at the PLE. But we did not see him tonight. So Femi is in. And my takeaway from this, if you just look at it for what it is, Femi should win this tournament. Like, this tournament should be over. It doesn't matter who's on the other side. It could be Javon Evans. It could be Jey Uso. This tournament, for all intents and purposes, should be over. It should be Femi challenging the champion of his choice at SummerSlam. But it doesn't feel that way, does it? It doesn't feel like that's going to be the end result. It feels to me like Jey Uso just won the King of the Ring tonight. Barring some big last-minute surprise twist. I've talked about the replacement theory. We're talking about it in wrestling terms here. I've talked about the great replacement theory in the King of the Ring finals, which is still a possibility that somebody could be taken out, like Oba. Barring something like that, I just felt to me like, holy shit, Jey Uso just won the crown tonight. The only thing left to do is to make it official and put the crown on his head in Riyadh. That was my takeaway from this when this show was over. Oba's looking awfully confident. Maybe a little too confident. And I think we just got one step closer to King Yeet with what we saw at the end of the show tonight. We have a Queen of the Ring tournament as well. We had a semifinal match, Io Sky and Raquel Rodriguez. I am very happy to report that we will not be getting an all Judgment Day final. It will be Io Sky going to the finals, and with any luck, it will be Queen Io at the end of all of this. That is my hope. She was my pick to win. I'm sticking with that. I am hoping for it. I am trying to will it into existence. But anyway, so we now know who is going to the finals, at least on one side of the tournament here. Again, this is the Queen of the Ring bracket. So after tonight, Io is in the finals. She will be meeting the winner of the match coming up on SmackDown this Friday between Charlotte Flair, who was in action tonight, and the Women's World Champion Liv Morgan, or Liver Morgan. Let's get Liver Morgan here in the Queen of the Ring tournament. So that's the Queen of the Ring. Now, on the King of the Ring side, again, this is the way things were looking coming into tonight. We know Oba is on the left side. Who will fill that spot on the right side? We will find out on Friday because they are doing the match on SmackDown between Javon Evans and Jey Uso. Jey Uso, by the way, who was all over this show, including during the commercial. There was a segment later in the show. It was during one of the commercial breaks. Byron Saxton interviewed Jey Uso. And so Jey Uso, I think Jey Uso had a total of, five or six segments, I believe, on the show tonight. He was all over the place. He was in the opening segment. He was in backstage segments. He was in commercial break segments. King Yeet. I'm telling you, King Yeet is on the way. You know who else was on the show tonight? Although it was only in one segment. Well, technically two. It bled over into a match. Logan Paul. The same Logan Paul who tore his tricep on Saturday night's main event not even a month ago. He was back. He had a brace on his arm. So I guess they're going to get their money's worth out of him. He's going to be making appearances while he recovers and heals up from his injury. But at least the Vision got somebody back tonight. Paul Heyman is still MIA. I don't know when we're going to see him next. We did get the official announcement, though, of a new match for Night of Champions. It will be inside of a steel cage. Seth Rollins and Braun Breaker will be going one-on-one. I look at that match as a de facto number one contenders match, because I really do. I believe, and let's see how things shake out with the King of the Ring. You know, for all we know, the person who wins may pick Roman Reigns. But I'm looking at that and I'm going, the winner of that match, which should be Seth Rollins, is probably going to end up challenging for the World Heavyweight Championship at SummerSlam. That's just my read on it. There was an interesting little segment in the back later on towards the end of the show with Roman Reigns and Jacob Fatu, though, where he leaned in and he said something very interesting to Jacob. And it wasn't too audible, but I think it was just audible enough. Maybe I'm out of my mind. I'll let you know what I think that was that he told him. When we get to that point here in the review, we got to go through the rest of the show first. This is your Monday Night Raw review, Monday Night Bloodline for June 15th, 2026. Do you realize that we are just about at the midway point of this year? By the time we get to the end of this month, we are already halfway done with 2026. Half the year is already gone. Where has the time gone? We got to start planning for WrestleMania 43. We're going to be talking about WrestleMania in Riyadh soon enough. And we'll still be talking about the Bloodline. Anyway, hit that subscribe button. Hit that like button. Super chats are open. We have a bonus goal going in the chat as well. I'm not going to spin the wheel tonight because I think it's a little wonky again. We're going to go with 400. 400 likes minimum is the likes goal tonight. If we hit 400, we will do Be the Booker. I want to give a shout out to Noah, I believe is his name. He was in the crowd tonight in the first few rows, and he was representing the Sound Off. He had a Sound Off sign, just the giant Sound Off logo. Noah, I did see it a few times. The first time I noticed it was actually during the commercial break, during the Chad Gable Rusev match. And they were brawling outside the ring, and I see the sign go up. I'm like, oh! I just happened to look up at that moment because I'm taking notes. And I looked up at just the right moment, and I see the Sound Off sign. So I'm like, always good to see some Sound Off representation here on these shows. And then I noticed the sign a couple more times. Anyway, Noah, if you were with us in the chat, he was there tonight live. I thank you, sir. I appreciate that. So let's start from the top here. Joe Tessitore. You may have noticed Joe Tessitore was doing commentary tonight. Normally it's Michael Cole. I don't know where he was. I don't know if they mentioned it. But Joe Tess sat in for Michael Cole with Corey Graves. Roman Reigns and the Usos, they arrived backstage in separate SUVs. They can't travel together, apparently. I don't know why. but they travel in separate cars. So they arrived here at the beginning of this show to kick things off the way the WWE, the only way WWE knows how, with the bloodline. Jacob Fatu was already there, so all four of them met up, and they headed into the arena. So they're making their way down to the ring, and Roman is smiling. And he goes over, and in the front row, in the aisleway, is actor Eric Andre. So he and Roman are dapping it up. They're in the Street Fighter movie together. Street Fighter is coming out in October. Cody Rhodes is in the movie. Roman Reigns is in the movie. Eric Andre is in the movie. Jason Momoa is in the movie. Hiroki Goto is in the movie. He's playing E Honda. Bunch of people in the movie. Apparently, Eric Andre in the movie is like an MC. I think he plays like a hype man. I guess that's his role in the movie. Roman is Akuma. So anyway, he was there tonight, and this will play a role here in this segment later on. So we'll come back to Eric Andre a little bit later on. So anyway, they get all in the ring, and you know how this goes. I mean, I feel like I could just sort of record myself doing a review of a Bloodline segment with Roman Reigns and just push a button here on my audio interface and just play it for you without even having to talk about it every single week. Roman Reigns comes out. He aura farms for a while. The crowd sings his name. He waits a little longer. And then he says, "Acknowledge me," with whatever the city is that he is in. It was Baltimore tonight, by the way. So he asked everybody to acknowledge him. Says they have a lot to be grateful for. The right-hand man advancing in the King of the Ring tournament, trying to take it to the next level. He will take the crown, he says. So Baltimore should acknowledge him as well. And the crowd in Baltimore yeets. So a lot of people try to piss Roman off, saying he never has anything good to say about Big Jim. Which is true, by the way. Big Jim, he's kind of an afterthought in this group. You know, he's got some of that sibling envy. I feel bad for the guy. You know, Jay has his role. Jacob has his role. Roman is the guy. Jimmy is just sort of, you know, he's there. He's in the background. He doesn't really play a terribly significant role. Usually it's him trying to play peacekeeper among the other members. So he gave some love here to Jimmy. Says if it wasn't for Big Jim, there would be no right-hand man. There would be no tribal chief. There would be no bloodline. So you can all acknowledge him too. Jay chimes in. He says there's one person here who needs to be acknowledged, who doesn't listen. It needs to acknowledge the two of them. And so he's staring a hole right through Jacob Fatu, who's just looking straight ahead. Roman says, we have a problem here. And he turns towards Jacob. Says he asked Jacob if he doesn't want to listen to or acknowledge the Usos. So Jacob swipes the microphone out of Roman's hand. Everybody cheers. I think they thought he was about to man up to Roman Reigns, but we're very early in this angle, so that's not happening yet. But he takes the microphone and he says that when it comes to Jimmy and Jay, he doesn't listen to them. He says the only person he acknowledges is his OTC, Roman Reigns. Roman says, good. We don't need any yes men around here. Roman calls someone over at ringside. Now, help me out, guys. I could have sworn, like, he looked over at somebody outside, and I thought maybe it was the timekeeper. I think the timekeeper is Berkeley. Berkeley is Typhoon's son. It didn't look like him, though. It was some random white dude that I've never seen before, but he called him over. Now, what did he call him? He shouted this name out, and I, like, at first I had no idea what Roman was saying, but I guess it must have been this person's name. Did you pick up on what Roman actually said here? I didn't write the name down, but it was very weird. But this person, he walks over, and he's got a little wooden box, and they open the box. He said, Lord? Is that what he said? Did he say... Okay, one person says Mark. Well, he probably wasn't Mark. One person said Lord. Did he call him Lord? I don't think he called him Lord. Mark. Okay, maybe Mark. Electrical says, I think he called him Marv. Is he from the Wet Bandits? All right, we'll call him Mark. That's funnier that way. So he called over Mark, who had a box. Roman reached in. He pulled out an Ulafala. Not the usual red one. It's a different color. It's kind of like, I don't know, brownish. But he pulls out an Ulafala from the box. And Roman says the people backstage, they're terrified that we got the bloodline back together. They're worried that the family is back together. But here's the thing. The bloodline has always been here. And he brought up the wild Samoans. Lord Mark. See, that's even funnier. He said Lord Farquaad. This is more entertaining than this whole episode of Raw, by the way. Just this one discussion that we're having here. All right, I got to be honest with you. I think Lord Mark is fucking hilarious. So that's what we're going to call it from now on. So anyway, Lord Mark with the box. He's got the Ulafala now. But Roman is saying, look, as far as the family goes, the family's always been here. He mentions the wild Samoans. He mentions Yokozuna, right? When he was the world champion. Rikishi, when he was entertaining the world and dancing around in the ring. He said Umaga, when he headlined WrestleMania. Now, Umaga did participate in the, I will say, the most promoted match on that WrestleMania 23 card. And you might argue that it was one of the main events of that night. It was not technically the main event of that show. But we can rewrite history. That's fine. So apparently Umaga main evented WrestleMania in 2007. So he mentioned Umaga and he mentioned the Usos, the greatest tag team to ever do it. Sure. And he mentioned himself. He goes, we're all part of the bloodline. And when the kids are tagging in 20 years, Roman's kids and Jacob's kids, they will be bloodline too. Jacob has always said that he's on the outside, but no more. And he welcomes Jacob to the family business. He places the Ulafala around Jacob's neck. In the background, Jimmy and Jay, they seem a little jealous with everything that's going on here. And as Roman and Fatu put the ones up, Jimmy has to convince Jay to come over and join them. They all pose. They put their fingers in the air. And that's the segment. Now they're leaving. Roman walks back over to Eric Andre. He's all smiles. Again, they're dapping it up. Jay comes over. He just looks at Andre and just keeps walking. Jimmy daps it up with Eric. And so now here comes Jacob. And Eric Andre, he's getting a little too comfortable with himself. Kind of pats Jacob on the shoulder, and he starts playing with the Ulafala around Jacob's neck, which is something you don't do. You don't put your hands on the Ulafala. He's like bouncing it up and down with his hands, and he's laughing. And Fatu grabs him, and he pulls him over the barricade. Remember many years ago, they did an angle on Raw. This is when they brought Crush back to the company in like 96, because he actually did go to jail or prison. I think he went to prison on a weapons charge. In the years that he had left the company. Remember, he was Kona Crush in like 92, 93. And then he went heel in 94. And then he disappeared. At some point in 1994, Crush just vanished. And he came back 2 years later. Apparently, he went to prison during that time. So they tried to play off of that with his new gimmick. And not long after he re-debuted, they did this thing where he had reached over the barricade and he grabbed a fan in the crowd. He pulled the fan over the barricade and he starts beating the shit out of him. Again, which was something that you didn't really see back then. So that's basically what Jacob did here to Eric Andre. He grabbed him, he pulled him over the barricade, he threw him into the ring, he started beating the hell out of him. And so here comes security, here comes Adam Pearce. They get in the ring. Jacob is climbing to the top. Okay, they're lucky he didn't go for the mighty moonsault here. He was climbing to the top. He was going to do a splash. All of the security geeks and Adam Pearce is in there. They're trying to get him to stop. Adam Pearce is looking at Roman Reigns, who now jumped up on the apron. He's trying to tell him, you got to get him to stop. And it looks like Roman is going to do that. It looks like he's telling him no. So Jacob starts climbing down. And then Roman has a change of heart. And he says, get up there. So as the fans cheer all of this, Jacob goes up to the top rope. And he delivers a big splash off the top. squashes Eric Andre like a pancake in the middle of the ring. What Eric Andre did to deserve this, apparently, like I said, he put his hands on the Ulafala, which you just don't do. And then as they were going to leave, Roman said, give him another one. So he went back up, he gave him a second splash, and then the Bloodline left. 25 minutes for this. The first 25 minutes of the show were gone. The last 5 minutes were the best part of this entire thing. But it took 25 minutes to get there. And so the big takeaway from this now is that, a few things here. So obviously the way that Jacob is being treated has made at least Jay, if not Jimmy and Jay, start to feel a little jealous, right? They're feeling a little jelly about this. That's number one. Number two, apparently Roman Reigns now controls Jacob Fatu. It's not enough that Jacob Fatu had to get down on bended knee and acknowledge this man, but now apparently he just does whatever he's told. Right? Go fetch me a sandwich. Go grab me a newspaper. Go get my slippers like he's a dog. Whatever Roman wants him to do, right? This is his tribal chief, so I guess it's like he has his own little monster, his own little robot that he can control. Honestly, you know what it felt like to me? This is, in a way, this is kind of like the Bloodlines version of the Daniel Bryan Wyatt story, which didn't last very long. I mean, they abandoned that angle pretty quick, but yeah, Daniel Bryan joined the Wyatts a handful of weeks. It really wasn't that long. And then until we had that cage match, which funny enough, I think was actually against the Usos, now that I think about it, where Daniel Bryan, he kind of, he had enough, but he lured him into this situation where Brie was in the cage with him. And then all of a sudden, Daniel Bryan is no longer doing his bidding and he fights back. And it was this just great angle. The way it came off, one of the best angles on Raw in the history of the show, honestly. This is sort of that. This is not exactly that, but I think it's sort of that. Or at some point, we will have the break between Jacob and Roman, but it is so far down the road. I mean, look, I suppose it could always happen at SummerSlam. If Roman's going to go away, maybe Jacob only does this for a couple more months. It would kind of be nice if we didn't have to wait much longer than that, and Jacob could, sort of snap out of it, lay out Roman, fuck him up. Roman disappears. Jacob takes the reins. No pun intended. But that's where we are right now with the Bloodline stuff. Again, if you're not into the Bloodline stuff, and look, for me, there's stuff I like, there's stuff I don't like. Does it feel like a rerun? In many ways, yes. I mean, there's little things that are a little bit different, but does it feel like a rerun? Yes, it does. And I talked about the Usos and how it feels like they've regressed from where they were. All of that is true. If you sat through the Bloodline stuff 3, 4, 5 years ago, a lot of this feels very familiar. And maybe you're excited about that because the Bloodline stuff back then for a period of time was great. So, hey, why not run it back again, right? There's that school of thought. The other school of thought is that we've been there, done that. And I can't believe that we're sitting here again 4 or 5 years later with a couple of different faces, but largely it just feels the same. But when they come out there, everyone's singing Roman's name and they're putting their hands up in the air, their fingers up in the air, and they're cheering for a guy who's really not a babyface. Roman Reigns is a heel. Make no mistake about it. Roman Reigns is a heel. He's not a tweener. He's not a babyface. He's a fucking heel. People cheer for him anyway. This all feels very familiar. Now we had our first semifinal round match in the Queen of the Ring tournament. Oh, there's Armed Anderson. Hands up. Good old Armed. Hey, Tone C. 5 months of membership. What's going on, Tone C? I'm so sick of the Bloodline. Hey, I feel you, brother. I feel you. Better get used to it. It's not going away. We had Io Sky against Raquel Rodriguez in the semifinals. There was a point in the match here where Io, she dodged a charge from Raquel. Raquel ended up out on the floor. They were fighting over actually, Io tried to do a dive out to the floor. Raquel caught her, ended up lawn darting her into the ring post. I didn't see where it happened. Raquel got her nose busted at one point. You can really notice it when they came back from the commercial break. So she was bleeding from the nose. There was the bullet train attack from Io in the corner. She goes up top, hits a missile drop kick. Raquel was able to avoid another bullet train in the corner, and she picked up Io. Io, though, kicked her to break free. She went for a sunset flip powerbomb out on the floor. Raquel, though, stomped her way out, and she tried to deliver a power slam to Io. She was able to escape. So Raquel ends up running right into the announce desk. And Io, from the barricade behind the announcers, was going to do, I guess, a leaping stomp to Raquel, who was kind of laid across the announce desk. Raquel was able to avoid that. She tripped Io. Io face planted right down on the top of the announce desk. So back inside, Raquel missed the twisting Vader bomb, that Vader bomb elbow that she goes for. Io, though, hit a sunset flip power bomb out of the corner inside the ring. Then she went up top. She hit the over the moonsault. 1, 2, 3. No funny business. No cheating. No bullshit. No Liv Morgan. No Roxanne Perez. Straight up win for Io Sky. And she is going to the finals at Night of Champions. She will meet the winner of the Charlotte Flair Liv Morgan match that is coming up on SmackDown this Friday. Very, very happy to see Io going to the finals. They have one job. All you need to do is give her one more win, and then Io can pick the champion she wants to wrestle at SummerSlam. And to me, it doesn't matter which one it is. It could be Liv. It could be Rhea. Right? We're still waiting to find out the severity of Rhea's knee injury. Hopefully she'll be able to go at SummerSlam and they won't have to strip her of the belt. But I was very happy to see Io go over here and have a straight wrestling match. You know, I thought the match they had was solid. It wasn't anything terribly special, but we had the right outcome. So that's really what matters most. Hey, shout out to Lola in the chat. Lola Bentley. She is new here, loving the show. I'm glad you're loving the show. I assume you're talking about this show, not Monday Night Raw. There's more to love here, I think, than there is on Raw. And so the other thing also I wanted to mention here before I forget, I was very concerned that we were heading for an all Judgment Day final. You can do whatever you want to do between Liv and Raquel at some point, right? Things are going to blow up between them. We all know it. I'm surprised it hasn't happened by now. When it happens, it doesn't need to be in the finals. So it's not that I'm against that being a match at some point, but not in this tournament. It's been the Judgment Day show up until this point. Dom made it to the semifinals. Liv is going to the semifinals. Raquel is in the semifinals. Enough. The Judgment Day isn't even that great anymore. Okay? Enough. We don't need total Judgment Day dominance here. We go backstage. Speaking of which, Roxanne Perez is talking to Liv Morgan. And she says that Charlotte Flair will not be 100% after tonight because you see Liv is wrestling Charlotte in the tournament on Friday. To soften her up, Roxanne had a match tonight with Charlotte. So she was letting Liv know everything is under control. Charlotte's not going to be going into SmackDown at 100%. So they part ways and Liv walks into... It was weird because you could kind of see it was reflecting. There were some weird lights going on, like behind the camera. I'm like, is there like a rave party going on backstage here in Baltimore? Like, I'm seeing all these flashing lights, but it was Danhausen's science lab. Liv found the science lab or the lair that Danhausen has been hanging out in. And so she walks in, Danhausen's typing or, fake typing on the computer. And she takes her jacket off and she reveals that she's wearing a Danhausen t-shirt, right? Which makes him very happy. And she says that you're a very powerful person. She clearly wants something from him. And what she wants is she wants him to curse Oba Femi ahead of his match with Dom in the main event tonight. So Danhausen said, well, it's going to take a lot of human monies and he wants a spot in her next music video. And he's going on and on about all these things that he wants. And then eventually Liv just gets sick of it and she leaves. So the one thing that we learned here from this segment, and by the way, the undead Baron Corbin is still lying under a white sheet in the background. I don't know when they're going to do the big reveal. It's going to happen one of these weeks. The only question I have is when we see Baron Corbin rise from the gurney, is he going to have the little things in his neck like Frankenstein? That's the only thing I'm worried. What are those things called, by the way? I always wondered that. Those things that are in Frankenstein's neck. Do they have a name? They're not buttons. What are those things? So anyway, we can still see the sheet in the background. But the one thing we learned here in this segment is that Danhausen is immune to the female charm. It has no effect on him. We come back from commercial, and we got more Danhausen. We had, I don't know if it was a clip from a longer documentary. They are working on a YouTube documentary for Danhausen. Oh, bolts. Thank you. That's what it was. Yes. Bolts. Neck bolts. What did I say they were? Buttons? What am I, a fucking idiot? Thank you. Maybe Baron Corbin will have bolts in the side of his neck. I don't know why I called them buttons. Oh, man, I got to go back and watch the old Frankenstein movies, man. It's been too long. I forgot everything. Of course, for the electricity. So Baron Corbin will be PCO? Sure. They probably got Corbin for cheaper than they'll get PCO for. I can only imagine what PCO would want. Yeah, he's old school. He wants to be paid. But yes, we had footage here from a Danhausen documentary showing all of his interactions over the last really few months with Stephen A. Smith, and he cursed the Knicks, and then he uncursed the Knicks, and the Knicks went on to beat the brakes off the Spurs in the finals, and they're the NBA champions for the first time in 53 years. Big parade coming on Thursday through the Canyon of Heroes in New York City. I mean, look, Danhausen needs to be there. Danhausen has been invited by WFAN to be there, so it'd be very interesting to see if he ends up on one of the parade floats. He should be. They should be building a statue for that man. We got a video promo from Seth Rollins, who talked about Braun Breaker and said he brought Braun into the vision. He tried to give him the world, and in return, Breaker took his world from him. 6 months of his career that he'll never be able to get back. So he's here to right his wrongs. No vision, no Heyman, no hiding. And he challenges Breaker to a match at Night of Champions inside of a steel cage. We knew we were getting the match. The only question was Night of Champions or Saturday night's main event next month. So now we know the date. We know the stipulation. The only thing that we needed was the response from Braun Breaker, which we will get to because we got that later on in the show. Elsewhere in the back, Lyra Valkyria was talking to Adam Pearce, and she was very happy. She said, I can't wait to go tell Bayley, and we were left to wonder what she was talking about. We can kind of surmise what she was talking about. Her and Bayley are going to be challenging Paige and Brie Bella for the women's tag team titles in London next week, just so you know. Spoiler, sorry. So LA Knight arrived after Lyra left, and he talked about what happened on Friday, and Adam Pearce was like, yeah, I saw what happened, and he goes, no, it doesn't bother me, you know, that everything that I said was going to happen exactly played out the way that I told you it would. And he was looking up at the lights, and he was on the losing end of his King of the Ring match on Friday. Jey Uso wins, Jey Uso goes on, LA Knight goes home. So Pearce talked about Solo Sikoa being back with the bloodline, which is something that Knight alleged, and because he brought up Solo Sikoa getting involved. And he did, actually. He spiked him. He gave him the Samoan spike. And Pearce, you know, he kind of disagreed with that and said he's not even on Raw. That's a SmackDown guy anyway, and I don't know that he's back with the bloodline. And Knight said, I'm going to go handle things my way. And he walked off. Then we got more footage. Last Monday, Penta beat Rey Mysterio to retain his Intercontinental Championship. We saw what happened when the match was over with Ethan Page and Rusev. They ripped the mask off Rey's head. Dragon Lee came out, and Chad Gable came out. He kicked ass. He gave the mask back. So we come back live, and Chad Gable is in the back with Jackie Redmond. And she wants to know about the next chapter. What's next for Chad Gable? So Gable says that he's been wrong a lot over the last couple of years, but he's been making amends. And after he handles Rusev tonight, he has other people that he needs to make amends with. So he starts to make his way towards the ring for his match, and he happens upon Maxine Dupree having a conversation with Austin Theory right behind him. So he stops. He looks at her. She looks at him. Theory kind of looks over at Gable and very dismissive. And no words are exchanged, but Gable keeps walking, right? Because we know who he still has to make amends with. He's going to have to make amends with Alpha Academy, and they're kind of dragging this out. So he makes his way out to the ring for the next match. And I will point out to you that we had one match. We had one match in 1 hour. The entire first hour of the show, we had only one wrestling match. Very impressive. So now we're at the top of the hour for hour 2. Maybe hour 2 will be more action-packed. Let's find out. Chad Gable one-on-one against Rusev, who had Ethan Page in his... I guess Ethan Page is kind of like his manager now. He had Ethan Page in his corner. Gable has new music. Now, when Gable did the run-in last week, I was all super excited because I said, oh, it's his old Alpha Academy music. That's pretty badass. I haven't heard that theme in over a decade. And it's a pretty badass tune. But I think I may have also made the comment that, you know, we've been down this road before where somebody will make their return. Maybe they'll even get their old NXT theme music for 1 week and then they change it. Well, they changed it. The NXT music is no more. They gave him new music. I'm going to have to listen to this. Again, I'm going to have to listen to this separate and apart from the show. If they upload it online, I'll have to listen to the song to fully judge it. What I will tell you is that upon first listen, it really does not fit Chad Gable. It really does not. You know what it sounds like? It sounds like, honestly, it sounds AI generated. I would not at all be shocked if it is. It sounds like an AI generated generic rock theme. It sounds like the kind of theme that you would expect Rick Boogs to come out to, not Chad Gable. I don't think it really fits him. So in the long term, I don't know if this is going to stick, but I have to hear it more. I don't know why they would give him back. Here's the thing I don't understand. Like, what is the difference from 1 week to the next? Like, you're going to debut this guy on the show last week and have him do a run-in as a babyface. If you've got new music that you're working on for him, then why is that new music not being used on week 1 when he shows up? Why would you even go back and use old music from 10 or 11 years ago for 1 week and then the next week debut new music for the guy? That's the part I don't understand. Either the music is ready or it's not, but like, why is that so hard? I don't really understand that. Sounds like Jelly Roll. No, that's not Jelly Roll. Yeah, Jelly Roll was in a hair band in the 80s, maybe. Look at Jelly Roll. That's my biggest issue with it is that it just doesn't really fit him. It just seems like it would be better suited for somebody else. But anyway, that's not important. What's important is that Chad Gable is back. He's a babyface now, and this is really his first match back for all intents and purposes. So let's see what happens here against Rusev. I was not convinced he was winning this match. In fact, having him lose sounds like exactly the sort of thing that they would do. They would want to build sympathy for him, right? He's making amends. He's trying to climb his way back from the top, from the bottom all the way back up. Let's beat him, right? I'm like, surely they won't do that, but I put nothing past these people. So the fight spilled out to the floor. Rusev sent Gable into the steel steps, and he was ramming Gable headfirst into the announce desk. Gable back suplexed him onto the desk, though. And then Ethan Page distracted Gable. Rusev ended up tossing Gable overhead over the announce desk. He took this rough bump to the floor, and that took us into the commercial break. So coming out of it, Gable, he hit some rolling Germans. Gable met him up on the ropes when Rusev climbed to the top. He hit a superplex. Now the straps come down. We got an ankle lock here by Gable. Rusev was able to kick his way free, and he went for the accolade after this. That led, though, to Gable escaping, and he tried to go for a Chaos Theory rolling German. Didn't get it, though. Rusev went for a Machka kick. Gable stuffed that. He got the ankle lock applied. And so Ethan is cheerleading Rusev. He's worried that this guy is about to tap out. And so he runs into the ring. Gable chases him out. And then as soon as he turns around, he turns right into a Machka kick. Just eats a foot right to the face, only for a near fall. Rusev goes for the accolade, and he gets it locked on. And Gable is trying to kind of inch his way closer to the ropes, but he gets dragged back to the center of the ring. And this is the point where I was like, okay, this they're going to end this right here. Like, he's going to fucking lose this match. I'm going to lose my mind if they beat this fucking guy. His first time back in the ring here on this show. And if this was Chad Gable when he was playing babyface, whatever it was, 2-3 years ago when he was feuding with Gunther, like that version, Alpha Academy Chad Gable, he would have lost right there at that moment. That's it. Like, when he got dragged back to the center of the ring, he would have been tapping out. But he holds on. He grabs the leg. He manages to fight out of it. He gets an angle slam. And then he gets the ankle lock applied again. And wouldn't you know, Rusev taps out. And Chad Gable picks up the win. Which is the finish that made sense. But again, I have no trust in these people. I have no trust in these people to do the right thing anymore when it comes to this stuff. So I was very happy to see that. When the match was over, Ethan attacked after the bell. Rusev joins in. Here comes Rey Mysterio and Dragon Lee. They run out for the save. And the two of them pull Chad back up to his feet. And they raise his arms. So, first of all, this was a great win for Gable, number one. I love the fact that he was super over. I'm not saying Femi in France or Italy over, but he was super over with the crowd. They were getting behind him. You know, when he made his comeback, they were rallying behind him. There were Gable chants. And this was only night one, you know, his first night back in the ring. Very encouraging. Now just keep building on it. That's all you got to do. Just keep building on it. We're in mid-June right now. SummerSlam is less than 2 months away. So you have some time to build him up for that Intercontinental title match, which is what I would like to see him in Minneapolis. I would like to see him and Penta go in there and tear it up. And I would like to see Gable come out of it with some gold. He challenged for that championship years ago. He failed every single time against Gunther that he went in there and he challenged for that title. He could not get the job done. Here we are now, a few years later. Gable is getting this renewed babyface push. If he's going to go in there and challenge for that title, failure cannot be an option this time. We cannot go back to that. He gets the shot, he wins. It's as simple as that. Just build to it slowly, right? Baby steps. Backstage, Roman Reigns was barking orders at Lord Mark. You know what I'm wondering here? I see Lord Mark on his phone. He's taking orders here from Roman backstage. And I'm like, is he supposed to be the new wise man? Like, is he the new Paul Heyman? Is he going to be there next week too? Or is this like a 1 week thing? I don't know. You know, Lord Mark, they're going to be in the UK next week. And not just anybody could walk around and call themselves Lord. Yeah, they may take offense if this guy shows up and they're calling him Lord. But anyway, so he's barking orders at this guy. And the Usos walk in. And Lord Mark disappears. He goes back to the castle. And Roman tells Jimmy and Jay, look, we can't have any infighting in the family. Everybody on the outside, they hate us. They hate us because they ain't us. So he says, why hasn't someone handled LA Knight yet? Oh, I think the creative team did that a long time ago. He says, well, maybe we should send the werewolf. And Jay said, no, I'll take care of it. I'll go take care of this guy. And Jimmy said, no, he volunteered. Let me go handle this. Let me go take care of this. So off he went. Now, LA Knight came out to the ring after this. And the fans were chanting his name. Speaking of being over, LA Knight was over. Do you know why he was over? Because they were in Baltimore tonight. And he is from Hagerstown. He's a Maryland boy. This was a homecoming for LA Knight. So the fans were into him a little bit more than usual. He said on SmackDown Friday night, he ended his, and he laid down to illustrate for us the position. He assumed the position. We'll start calling this the LA Knight position, on his back. He laid down in the ring to illustrate the position that we all saw him in at the end of the main event on SmackDown on Friday night, looking up at the lights. He thought to himself, you know, he could lay there all weekend, but he realized he needed to get to Baltimore. Then he got a phone call from a friend suggesting that he come home for a couple of days. But he said he couldn't. I need to get to Baltimore. Someone else called and told him the King of the Ring is over. He should take the week off. And LA said that, I gotta get to Baltimore. He says he's home. He didn't return home a king or a champion, but with or without it, he's still LA Knight. He says he's always fought the odds. He doesn't give up because he doesn't know how. He didn't have a famous father. He didn't have a tribal chief to help him out. He sees Roman manipulating Jacob. Pretty soon he'll have his own meme coin. He'll have the bloodline meme coin. He's not here to complain or whine. That's what he's been doing every week. What the fuck is he talking about? Every week we see him on the show, he's complaining about the bloodline. What are you saying? It's his new gimmick. It's all he does. He said every single member of the bloodline would be there. Every single time he's out there. Solo Sikoa spiked him. So he's out of the tournament. Jey Uso moves on. So Jimmy Uso comes down to the ring. And Jimmy says he knows that Knight has legit beef with his family, but that was a few years ago. And that's where it really hit me. It's like, now we're actually talking about this in promos. We're talking in terms of years now. As we refer back to all of the people that the bloodline feuded with. And all of the people like whose lives they made miserable. And we're no longer talking in terms of like weeks or months. We are now talking about years. Man, all that stuff that happened, that was years ago. I'm like, man, this has been going on for a long time. But he said Solo doesn't work with us anymore. And Knight reminded Jimmy that Solo helped Jey win on Friday. So he's supposed to just believe that if he goes after Solo, the rest of the bloodline won't come after him. And Jimmy said, that's exactly what I'm saying. Said that may the best man win. If you want to go after Solo, may the best man win. So Jey Uso entered. He takes the microphone from Jimmy. Jey says that Jimmy is right. They've told him over and over again that Solo is on his own, and he just needs to accept that. What Jey is out here for, though, is one thing. And so Knight cuts him off. And Jey says, it's not to acknowledge the OTC. He goes, I'm better than you. I'm better than LA. He beat LA fair and square, so LA should acknowledge him. And I'm like, oh my fucking God, enough with the fucking acknowledge me stuff. Now we got little Roman coming out. It's bad enough we have to hear Roman go through this shit every single week. Acknowledge me, acknowledge me. It's in the fucking supermarket. Acknowledge me to the cashier. Now we got Jey Uso coming out here, and Jey Uso wants people on this show to acknowledge him. Enough. Enough. We get it. We have acknowledgement ceremonies now on these shows. Like, enough. Enough with the acknowledgement. LA says, you know, with everything that I have to deal with, it is a compelling offer that you make. So he says, you know what, Jey? I acknowledge you can kiss my ass. And then at that point, things broke down. I will tell you, as I listened to LA Knight say this, I don't know if it was just the way in which he said it. When he told Jey, you know, I acknowledge you can kiss my ass. The first thing I thought of, the first thing that it just popped up into my head, it sounded to me in my brain, it reminded me of Austin at Madison Square Garden in '97, that night, first night that he stunned Vince, and the promo that led up to it, where he says, I appreciate the fact that you and the World Wrestling Federation care. And I also appreciate the fact that, hell, you can kiss my ass. And then he kicked him and he stunned him, but just the way he said it. And look, there have been comparisons before to LA Knight, his delivery, the inflections in his voice. He sounds like Stone Cold when he cuts a promo. Like, you could tell where the influence comes from. People say Rock. I'm not saying that there isn't Rock influence in some of his stuff. The main influence is Steve Austin. So for whatever reason, when he said those words, like the way he said it, I'm like, if I close my eyes, like, it's fucking Austin. I don't know if I'm the only one who felt that way watching this, but I was like, man, there's something about the way he said that. So anyway, Jimmy tried to separate Knight and Jay because they started going at it like cats and dogs. And so Jimmy, he was trying to be peacemaker here, but Knight has mounted his brother and he's punching him. And so he's got no choice. So he delivers a super kick to get Knight off of Jay. So Jay goes outside. He grabs a chair and he brings it in. Jimmy gets in between them. LA Knight gets possession of the chair and he hits both Usos. Jacob runs down. He locks in the Tongan death grip on LA Knight and he puts him down with the Tongan death grip. So, hey, it finally worked, I guess. He has yet to win a match with him, but at least he put down LA Knight with it. So that was the segment. Hey, Skip, what is the opinion that you disagree with here? You can't be nebulous like that. I'm right in everything I say. You know why? Because it's my opinion. It can't be wrong. It has to be right. That's what you don't understand. I don't blame some people, though, because we have some newer fans here who probably weren't watching back then, so they don't know. They don't know what they don't know. I'm telling you, when his delivery of that line, that was Austin in 97. I'm not saying it like, oh, this is a modern day Stone Cold. I'm saying like he's copying Stone Cold. Like, that's what I hear when that line comes through. I know I'm not the only one who felt that way. I can't possibly be the only one who heard that. So we go to commercial and we come back and it's more bloodline. The Usos are in the back and they're arguing with each other. Jacob Fatu enters. He says, we tried it your way. We tried it your way. But we got to do things the OTC's way. And he walked off. Now, for those keeping score, at this point in the show, we were 90 minutes into this show. 2 matches. 2 matches in 90 minutes. We had Charlotte Flair with Alexa Bliss in her corner against Roxanne Perez with Liv Morgan. Crowd was dead silent for most of this. This was weird because there were parts of the show where the crowd was very loud. This was not one of those times. They were just completely uninterested in what they were seeing. So Roxanne had an armbar on Charlotte. So again, let me stop here because I think people aren't using their brains. When I make the comparison between LA Knight and Austin, people immediately are like, "Oh, he's comparing LA Knight to Stone Cold." Like, that's not what I'm fucking doing. Okay, pay attention to what I'm saying here. I'm saying in the literal delivery of the line. It reminded me of an Austin promo, as if it was something that Knight himself had seen. He was delivering it in the same way. Some people might look at that actually as a knock and not a compliment. I'm not saying that this guy is Stone Cold, okay? Clean the shit out of your ears and pay attention to what I am saying. I fucking hate this when people do this. Pay attention to what I am saying here, okay? I am not comparing the two as if this is a modern day Stone Cold Steve Austin. That's not what I'm saying, okay? Don't twist my words. I fucking hate that shit. Don't do that. I see enough of that shit online where people compare this guy. He's like a modern day this and that. That's not what I'm doing. Okay, leave that to those people. That's not what I'm trying to do here. I'm literally saying that I could hear Austin's voice in my head as he was delivering the line. That's all I'm saying. I don't know why every opinion has to be a fucking confrontation. I find this a lot on social media. You cannot post an opinion without getting into a fucking debate or a fight with people. It is exhausting. It is absolutely exhausting. To make an observation about something is like a fucking World War III breaks out. I'm sorry. It just irritates the shit out of me when I see that. So anyway, Roxanne. She's got an armbar on Charlotte when we come back from break. Now, she doesn't have it all the way locked on. Charlotte power bombs her way out of it for a 2 count. Roxanne takes Charlotte down with a La Mystica. Goes back to work on the arm. She was really focusing heavily on the arm here. So Charlotte, she boots Roxanne. She gets distracted, though. Liv Morgan is out there in her corner. She notices that Liv has knocked Alexa into the ring post. So this distracts her. Roxanne tries to take advantage. Charlotte hits a fall-away slam. Liv distracts Charlotte, though, before going up for the moonsault. But Roxanne is able to yank Charlotte off the ropes, and then Roxanne hits a springboard moonsault for a 2 count. So Charlotte boots down Roxanne. Okay, and she goes for a figure 4 leg lock. And as she's going for this figure 4, Liv distracts the referee. Alexa, though, trips her on the apron. So while the referee is tending to Liv, Alexa reverses the small package. Now, there's a small package in the ring where Roxanne is covering Charlotte. It's not the best small package. Alexa gets in the ring, and the idea is that she's going to grab Charlotte and she's going to kind of roll her over and reverse the small package. This completely fell apart. This was no longer a small package. Basically what ended up happening is Charlotte was laying on top of Roxanne Perez. And so Roxanne is laying there with Charlotte on top of her, flat. And she's kind of flailing her legs around like a turtle that's on its shell. And it needs somebody to like flip it over. She's kind of like flailing her legs around. I'm like, please, please, please kick out of this. Because if this is the end of the match and she gets pinned, this is going to look horrible. This is going to look absolutely terrible. Thankfully, she kicked out. I will say I thought this was fucking hilarious. I know it wasn't supposed to be, but whatever happened here, this just fell apart. And I just thought this is the most hilarious thing I've seen all night. So Roxanne went for pop rocks. Charlotte reversed into a figure 4. Then it became a figure 8. And Roxanne had no choice but to tap. The drought continues for Roxanne Perez. Because I looked it up. Roxanne has yet to win a match here on Monday Night Raw since December. She's got like that run the Knicks went on where they won like 13 in a row. This is the opposite of that. Roxanne has to turn things around here at some point. Roxanne needs to start winning matches, is what Roxanne needs to do. Actually, it doesn't surprise me that she seems to be plotting against the Judgment Day. I think she would be very well advised to leave the Judgment Day as soon as possible because it doesn't seem to be working out too well for her being a part of this group. Jackie Redmond was in the ring to interview Javon Evans, perhaps the next king of the ring. Well, look, I mean, he still technically has a shot, but he ain't winning shit. But Javon Evans is in the King of the Ring semifinals, so she's going to interview the potential future king here of the WWE. So Evans said that he would yeet Jey Uso right out of the tournament. Logan Paul and Austin Theory come out because Logan's music hits. And out he comes. His arm is all braced up because he just had surgery on his torn triceps literally a few weeks ago. So he and Theory come out and they get in the ring, and Logan tells Javon, you have untapped potential, but you can't be on your own. And he offered him a spot in the Vision. This is very much like what the New Day did. You remember those segments in the back and this was like 2 weeks in a row, and then it was a very short story. But they were trying to recruit him, right? You need friends around here, and he ended up not joining. So now the Vision is trying to recruit Javon Evans. And he made like he was going to shake hands and accept the offer. And he's like, hell no. And Logan said, maybe I wasn't being clear enough. It wasn't an invitation for you to join the Vision. It was a mandate. He goes, you are part of the Vision. Don't put that black voodoo magic on this poor guy. Okay. He didn't do nothing wrong. Nobody needs to be part of the Vision, okay? Because we know what happens when people join the Vision. They start dropping like flies. The last thing Javon Evans needs is to join the Vision. So Evans told Paul, why don't you get out of the ring or I'm going to make sure you leave here with no arms. He took off his sweatpants. He said, I know where this is headed. He called for a referee. Referee comes charging down to the ring. And so we're going to have ourselves an impromptu match here right after the commercial break between Javon Evans and Austin Theory. Now, late in that match, Evans, he rammed Theory into the ring post. He sent him into the timekeeper's area. And then Javon very casually, it's not like he was sprinting like Braun Breaker, but he goes outside and he kind of does a lap around the ring. And then he builds up speed as he comes in. He does this huge running dive over the timekeeper's barricade. He kind of launched himself into the other barricade, but he took out Theory on the landing. Back inside, Evans went for the OG cutter, and this right here was the highlight of the night. Of the entire show. Javon Evans, you know the height he gets on this. He comes off the top rope for the OG cutter. He's turning in midair, and he doesn't realize that on the way down, we have Braun Breaker in the ring, and he spears the shit out of this kid. Just damn near cuts him in half with just this fantastic spear. And the referee calls for the disqualification before anything else can go down here and they can beat this man down anymore. Street Profits music plays. Out comes Montez Ford. He stops and he's motioning for somebody to join him, and it's the returning Angelo Dawkins. And the last time we saw Dawkins was many weeks ago, and he was taken out by Austin Theory. So the Street Profits now are at full strength. They come down to the ring. They send the tag team champions out of the ring. And we got the announcement after that the tag team championships will be on the line. In London next Monday, it will be Braun Breaker and Austin Theory defending their titles against the Street Profits. So that will be taking place next week. And you got to imagine that if Braun Breaker cost Seth Rollins the King of the Ring crown, Seth Rollins is going to want to cost Braun Breaker in some way. He's going to want to take something away from Braun Breaker. Braun Breaker took 6 months of his career away from him. Well, actually, he didn't, but technically, I guess in kayfabe he did. It was Seth who took 6 months away from his own career with some boneheaded coast-to-coast move. But this man took 6 months of his career away from him and the crown and the potential to go to the main event of SummerSlam to challenge for the World Championship. At the very least, Seth Rollins can cost him the tag team titles. Is that what we're looking at next week in London? I mean, look, if the Street Profits just go in there again and lose, I don't really know what to say here. Where do they go from here? Where do they go if they just go in there next week and they lose? Angelo Dawkins was put out for weeks with an injury. He just made this big return tonight. They're going to have this match next week. If they don't win the titles, I don't know where they go. That's it. Like, what do you do? What do you do? They have to win the titles next week. Braun Breaker does not need to be tag team champion. The hell does he need that for? Get the belts off these two. Now, we saw clips of all of the things that Jacob Fatu has done here so far tonight on this show. Roman exits his locker room. Now we're back live. And Jacob shows up. And Jacob says, I got LA's ass. But the twins aren't too happy about it. Roman says they don't understand Jacob, but he does understand Jacob. And as long as Jacob understands him, there won't be any problems. So they embrace, but Roman says, I have one more thing I need you to take care of. And he leans in and he whispers something into Jacob's ear. Now, I'm no lip reader, but if you listen closely to what Roman Reigns was saying to him, I could have sworn that I heard Roman tell him to kill Seth Rollins. I'm almost positive I heard him say the word Seth Rollins. I know I saw him mouth the words kill him. He was clearly telling him to go out and take somebody out, right? That much we know. But I could swear to you that he said Seth Rollins. So unless they're just putting that out there to throw us off, it's kind of random. I mean, obviously the two of them have a lot of history together, but still feels kind of random though, especially given that Seth is currently engaged with Braun Breaker, and they have their own thing going on until Night of Champions. But that's what it sounded like to me. We'll see. I guess we'll have to wait and see. Yeah, my first thought was he's telling him to go out there later on in the show and go after Oba Femi. Because A, he's trying to help Jay, who would have to face Oba in the finals if Oba wins tonight. But also, he's kind of looking out for himself, self-preservation. Roman Reigns doesn't want to wrestle Oba Femi at SummerSlam, so he's telling him, go kill this guy, right? But I could swear I heard him say the word Seth Rollins. I don't think I'm crazy. I think I am crazy for watching, some of these shows, especially on Fridays. But it's kind of just what I do. They closed the show with the King of the Ring semifinal match between Oba Femi and Dominik Mysterio, who had JD McDonough in his corner. Right? He was smart enough to know that this is probably going to get very violent. Let's leave Liv. Let's leave the lady in the back. We don't want her to be in the middle of all this. The opening minutes of this were Dom just running scared, doing everything he could to avoid contact with this man. Oba reached up for a test of strength at one point. Dom just shoved him and then immediately bailed out of the ring. Oba went out after him. He ended up getting drop kicked off the apron, did Oba, when he tried to make it back inside. Dom did a springboard to the floor, but Oba blocked it and then tossed him over the announce desk. JD tried to sneak up from behind. Oba saw him coming, and then McDonough literally just jumped over the barricade and just ran for his life and just fled into the crowd. So Dom, he grabs the bell hammer, the ring bell hammer, and he stuffs it into his boot. Oba sends him back into the ring. He's oblivious to this. McDonough is back, gets up on the apron. Oba just knocks him off the apron, but then Dom comes up from behind with a low blow. And he delivers a 619 to the midsection, right to the nuts. He gives him another proper 619 with the boot, or the hammer rather, in the boot. So he gives him a 619 right to the face. He goes up top. He hits a top rope splash. He covers Oba. Oba kicks out of one. Dom has the hammer now in his hand. Oba, though, goozles him by the throat. McDonough comes in. He gets goozled. Double choke slam. So now you got JD McDonough in one corner. You got Dominik Mysterio in the other corner. And Oba is doing the running uppercuts, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, uppercut after uppercut. And he wipes out McDonough. He grabs Dom. He tosses him. And then he waits. And he stalks. And Dom comes in. And he pops him up into the air. Fall from grace. 1, 2, 3. Just like that. And so Oba Femi has advanced to the finals now of the King of the Ring tournament. Pretty cut and dry here. He took the mic when it was over. He looked dead into the hard cam. And he said he makes it to the King of the Ring final. The picture is starting to come in now crystal clear. Says that he's one match away and the ruler will have his crown. He'll beat whoever he needs to beat. Jey Uso, Javon Evans, even Brock Lesnar. Or as he says it, Brock Lesnar. I love the way he says that. Brock Lesnar. Very intimidating when he says it, a lot more intimidating than I do. But he thought that this would be the night that Brock would show up. See, he shows he's a smart baby face. He's not like some of these dumbass dipshit baby faces. He was expecting Brock Lesnar. He was ready for Brock Lesnar if he showed up tonight, but then he never showed up. He used to look up to Brock as a man. Now he questions if he's a man at all. Man, last week he called him a bitch. Now he's questioning his manhood. Says, what will Brock's legacy be? Says, Oba says he'll be the ruler, the mountain that Brock cannot climb or conquer. I mean, he just did in Italy. He will be king, and Brock will be the man who ran from Oba Femi. And the fans chant his name. He hits his trademark pose. And that's how the show went off the air. You know, when he struck that pose and the lights in the arena dimmed, I thought that Jacob Fatu was going to show up behind him and put the Tongan death grip on this guy. But that was it. They put the copyright box on and they went off the air, and that was it. Very straightforward ending to the show. They played it straight. No surprises, no swerves, no Jacob Fatu. Again, I think I heard Seth Rollins in that segment backstage. So maybe that's what we're headed for. You know, it could be that he told him to kill Javon Evans and he'll show up on Friday and, you know, do something to help elevate Jey to the finals of the tournament. We won't have to wait very long to find out. We'll know by the end of the week. But when this was all over, you would think a normal person would watch this and would say, oh, okay, well, Obafemi is going to the finals. Obafemi is going to win. Doesn't matter if he wrestles Jey Uso, if he wrestles Javon Evans. And they've had some really good matches before, by the way, in NXT. I would not mind that as a final, provided Oba's winning. I mean, at this point, again, barring some like fantasy booking that I've been floating out there about, taking Oba out, Brock takes Oba out before he even gets to the match, and they have to plug in some other big name, and maybe that's how they reintroduce CM Punk or Randy Orton to TV, which is still possible. I'm just saying, still possible. Barring something like that, Obafemi has to win this tournament. And I did not get the sense when this show was over that he's going to be the king of the ring, which means it's only going to go one way. If it's not Obafemi, if we're focusing on the people who are in the tournament, okay, and there's not going to be some big swerve here, if it's not Obafemi, it will be Jey Uso. And I think tonight it really felt like we crowned Jey Uso as the king of the ring. It almost just feels too obvious now. Is he just going to steamroll everybody and just win? He should. He should. And he should go to SummerSlam and he should wrestle fucking Roman Reigns. But that's not going to happen. I would be shocked if we get that match at SummerSlam. And he's out there every single week, and he's pulling Brock Lesnar's Punk card every single week, and he's insulting him, and he's kind of poking the bear. He is just tempting fate every single week. And if Brock doesn't show up, right, it begs the question of what's he waiting for? He almost has to show up now in Saudi, and if he does, I mean, could he try to cost Oba and it doesn't work and Oba wins anyway? I mean, but we're going to get Oba and Brock. We know this already. Brock's not going to do a run-in at SummerSlam. He's going to wrestle in Minneapolis. And the only person that makes sense for him to wrestle is Obafemi. It's as simple as that. Now, if they want to really get sort of in the weeds here and a little complicated, they could always do something where, you know, they've got 2 nights of SummerSlam this year. You could always do something where he wrestles on night 1 and then he comes back and wrestles on night 2. And I think that would be a bit much, right? You're going to have 2 championship matches. See, it worked at WrestleMania 40. It worked at WrestleMania. It's different this time, though, because you got 2 title matches. And so you know you're going to close night 1 with a title match. You're going to want to close night 2 with a title match. So I really don't think it's going to work in this scenario. I can't imagine them doing that. I'm just saying it's a possibility. But it just feels to me like it's too obvious. And they're going to want to go a different way with it because Oba and Brock is the play. And if that's the play, then he's not in a title match. Javon Evans ain't wrestling for the world championship at SummerSlam. I'm sorry. I know they think the world of him and maybe one day. Today is not that day. That means King Yeet just became a very, very real possibility. He moves to the front of the pack now as the favorite. And he, again, he would challenge Cody Rhodes for the WWE Championship. And I'm like, Cody Rhodes and Jey Uso for the WWE Championship. Like, is there anybody honestly clamoring for that? Like, even if you're not, like, you don't hate the bloodline stuff. Maybe you even enjoy some of like the drama between the members and everything, and you're kind of digging it. You mean to tell me that you're honestly okay if we have just Bloodline main event night 1, Bloodline main event night 2? Like, why? Why do we need that? Who's asking for that? So I'm pulling for some sort of big swerve. At this point, Obafemi winning King of the Ring, as obvious as it seems, I would count that as a swerve. Like, to me, that would be a shocking finish at this point. Because all signs point to him doing something else at SummerSlam. But boy, you know, if you want to play it straight, that's the only way this could go, is an Obafemi win. Anything else to me would be ridiculous. But that was Raw. Raw is Bloodline, now and forever. Now, next week, Raw is in London. I think they're at the O2, I believe. And they mentioned it on the show here tonight, 2 p.m. Eastern start next week on Netflix. So I think next week, and I'll keep you guys posted, but I think next week we'll do what we did last time for a 2 o'clock start, go live right after. So probably like a 5 o'clock stream. Instead of waiting even until like 8 or something, I think I'll just go live right after. So, and then after that, I think the tour is over. I believe. No, actually, you know what? No, I take that back. After that, Raw on the 29th, they're in the States, but that is an early start as well. I think Raw on the 29th is in Atlantic City. That's a 6 p.m. Eastern start because they're taping SmackDown that night. They want to give people off for July 4th. So because they're taping SmackDown, they're starting Raw earlier. So that's going to be a 6 p.m. start. So the next couple of weeks are going to be a little wonky, but then after that, things go back to normal. So just something to be aware of. Just something to keep in mind. Then we get back to a regular schedule. Not a fan of Cody and Jay. I'm telling you, man, like, do we really need Roman Reigns in the night 2 main event and Jey Uso in the night 1? Like, enough of this shit. Keep it contained to one of the main events. We don't need it to take over both main events of SummerSlam. It's too much. Oba beats Brock and then loses to Roman on night 2. I don't know, man. I don't know. You could do that. I guess the only question is, like, if you did that, then the match between Oba and Brock, I mean, it wouldn't make sense for it to be any other way, but to make it a number one contenders match. Number one contenders in that, if I'm Brock and Oba wants a piece of me, then I'm forcing him to put, like, let's say he wins King of the Ring. I'm forcing him to put that title shot on the line. I'm effectively forcing him to put the crown on the line. So the winner of their match on night 1, even if it's Brock, what a horrifying thought this is. Brock and Roman again. But the winner would then get a title shot on night 2. But see, I don't know. Now I feel like we're just making things very convoluted. I just don't think that's necessary. I just don't think it's needed. Shout out to Joseph. Appreciate the support as always, my friend. I know he's probably in shambles now. He's a big Dominik Mysterio guy, so he's probably not very happy at the way that the main event ended tonight. He's also a very big Masters of the Universe fan. I know he's seen it now a whole bunch of times. Joseph, I think you're the only one who's really bankrolling this movie at this point. I really liked it too, but the movie is a colossal flop. Like, it will go down as maybe the biggest flop of 2026 at the box office. It dropped over 70% in its second week. That's not good. That is not good. $200 million to make, and in its second week now worldwide, I think it's made like 80 million. Joseph, if it's up to Joseph, Joseph is single-handedly going to try to prop this movie up so that they make a sequel. I don't think it's going to work. Anyway, Joseph, thank you for the other super chat as well. How would you make a movie about the Kane and Undertaker and Mankind characters? What would be their origin story? I think we already got an origin story with Undertaker and Kane. I think a Mankind origin story could be interesting. But I think we already have them with the other two. Thank you, Joseph. Here's an interesting one. I did a Masters of the Universe 90s fan cats... Fan cat? What the hell is that? A fan cat? You mean fan cast? I don't know what that means. I don't know what you're trying to say there. Al Pacino is Skeletor. That would be interesting. That to me that wouldn't work, but that would be interesting. Not bad ideas. Not bad ideas, though, for casting here. Joseph, thank you, as always. The Sheltered Kid says, one way for LA Knight to reach the top is to be an honorary member. Surprised no one thought an honorary block. I said, if LA Knight goes out and gets one of the tribal sleeves on his arm, guaranteed world champion by WrestleMania next year. If I'm LA Knight, I'm starting to get that work done right now. I'm going to get the whole tribal sleeve. Maybe something on the chest. Guaranteed world champion by Saudi Mania next year. Said instead of LA Knight, he'll become Oofalafa Knight. Every time he says Oofalafa, I can't not laugh. Dry Chicken says, I wanted to stop by and say congrats to all the New York Knicks fans in the chat for winning the NBA Finals. Well deserved. As I listened to your recent review about the updated Vince McMahon lawsuit, the idea of Vince coming back or people wanting him back, they would rather go with the devil they know than the devil they don't. Well, what does that even mean? The other devil is Triple H, and I think he's been around long enough for people to know what they're getting with him. Says, good night, Solo. Love your reviews and stay hydrated. Yes. Stay hydrated in this summer heat. Thank you, brother. Aaron says the JLA Jacob stuff gives me hope that Jay is losing. Jay needs to lose. I don't think anybody wants to see him win this. But that's just not the vibe that I got when the show was over tonight. Says, hope the Queen of the Ring final doesn't turn into an AEW eliminator. Would Liv Morgan in there? Lakers Pats, Roman versus Eric Andre is going to feed families. Yes, it's going to feed them expired food. Super Pony, Jay is pinning Oba in the finals, and he has a laughing emoji. He finds this hilarious. I think you may be the only one who's laughing at this. Super Pony says, embrace King Yeet, Solo. It is inevitable. Main event Jey Uso is now in Yo City. We have Void Mayweather. I feel terrible for Bayley. They were teasing the voices in her head gimmick almost a year ago and nothing came of it. I kind of liked where it was leading. Well, you should be happy for Bayley because that must mean that she's no longer hearing the voices. See, what you're advocating for is for her to continue to be psychologically disturbed. We should all be very happy that she is no longer hearing the voices in her head. Thoughts and prayers for Dirty Dom. You know, he wasn't... thank you, Ron Talks Tabletop. He was not obliterated as badly as I thought he might be. I actually think he got off very easy tonight. Alexander, Oba needs to say Brock's name for a third time for him to appear, like Joe Hendry. Or Beetlejuice. I actually think we have a better chance of seeing Beetlejuice on this show before we ever see Joe Hendry again. What a bust he turned out to be. Base Bears 2028 will be Jimmy's chapter in the 7th inning. You're being very generous. It's more like middle of the 5th. CMJ World. Scary Movie 6. 2 out of 5. Disclosure Day 1 out of 5. The Furious 4 out of 5. The Furious? What is The Furious? Masters of the Universe 3 out of 5. Backrooms 2.5 out of 5. And Obsession 5. You're mostly right. You're a little off. Scary Movie 6 I have no interest in seeing. I don't know what The Furious is. Masters of the Universe for me gets 4 out of 5. Backrooms gets 4 out of 5. Disclosure Day gets 2.5, maybe 3 out of 5. That wasn't great. And Obsession gets the full 5. It's best movie of the year. Base Bears, give Gable Hogan's theme. Real American. Not a bad idea. I love that's my favorite song. MGM Ballin' with a 1999. Says, fell asleep during this Raw, although I can attribute that to losing sleep over the Knicks. I never thought this would happen in my lifetime, but Brunson and crew made it possible, debating if I go to the parade. FOMO is kicking in. You should. This may be the only chance you have to do it. It could be another 53 years for all you know. You never know. You can never be sure. You may not get another chance. You may meet Danhausen if you go. G. Barry Free. Hope you're ready to start yeeting. Come Saudi. Also, got to see Obsession finally after you brought it to my attention. 4 weeks out of the theater was still packed. So happy for everyone involved. Yeah, I was curious. And so I went and looked up one of the showings at my local theater because it'll show you the seating map. And it wasn't sold out because I think I just randomly picked like a 6 o'clock Thursday showing or something. But it was mostly full. And this movie's been out for like 5 weeks. It made another 21 million this past weekend. It went up. It went up. That just doesn't happen. Donovan says, in football, Florida, Texas, and California produces the best talent. What top 3 cities and states produce the best wrestling talent on the top of your head? First thing off the top of my head, honestly, was Canada. There's been some great wrestlers out of Canada. Whether it be Calgary or Montreal, Toronto. Florida, I think Florida, well, I mean, you got the PC down in Florida as well. I don't know that I necessarily associate any other specific state, like in the modern day. So looking outside, looking abroad, I might look at Japan. You know, maybe out of the dojos over there. I don't know. But I always think of Canada first. You know, back in the day when you had like the AWA was around and everything, you look at the Twin Cities, a lot of wrestlers came out of the Twin Cities. I don't know if it's like that anymore. It's been a long time since those days. Alexander says Roxanne may become the next Barry Horowitz. Yeah, they'll have to call her Barry Horowitz and spell it B-A-R-I. That's the female version of Barry. Barry Horowitz. Josh Herman solo. I was live there tonight. The energy in the building was great. Had a blast for my second ever live show. Yeah, it's always more fun when you've really not been to them before. It's just the commercial breaks are a killer for the TVs. Super Pony, boy, that belt shot and punt kick at the end of night 1 went nowhere, huh? Sweet contract for Randy, getting to take 6 months off whenever he wants. Hey, remember, he's got a bad back, so could be what's going on here. And let's see, rounding out the list, B-Man the Champ says, no way Oba's not getting taken out by Lesnar in the finals. Again, I thought maybe it would happen in the semifinals before the match tonight. But this is what I've been talking about for about 2 weeks now. And part of it is just me not being happy with how they've put this tournament together and just trying to fantasy book my way out of it. But yeah, I that's why I said you got Orton. I thought maybe McIntyre could have been a possibility, and it's not going to be Drew. Drew's out of the running now. But You know, you got Randy and you got Punk. We know Punk is coming back. We know Punk is coming back. And the belief is that if it's not on that July 6th Raw, which is in Chicago, it'll be by or before then. But think about it. Like, if Punk is going to come back and Punk is going to be wrestling at SummerSlam, you know, like, who would he be wrestling? Who would he be working with at SummerSlam? If he was not to, let's say, be a surprise entry in the tournament if Oba got taken out or something, right? You got to replace him with some big name if that were to happen. And at least then, if he actually was the replacement and he won, now he's got a coveted spot. He's got a spot that, you know, makes sense for SummerSlam. If he just comes back, I'm just wondering who they put him with. Who does he work with? What's the match for him at SummerSlam if he's not wrestling for the title against Cody? You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know who that would be with. Also, he says Sammy versus Cody at Night of Champions. I'm thinking triple threat. I'm thinking we get all three of them in there. I wouldn't even mind a short run for Sammy right now as the WWE champion, but I just can't imagine that we're this close to SummerSlam. They're not going to want Cody in that main event. Or that the winner of the King of the Ring would probably end up challenging Cody. If Sammy has the belt, them challenging Sammy, I don't really see that. And top 5 regular moves that used to be finishers. Top 5 regular moves that used to be finishers. The pile driver. The pile driver used to be a finisher. At the same time, though, even back in the territory days, there were people using it as just another move. It was not exclusively a finish. Jerry Lawler in Memphis used it as a finish. Paul Orndorff used it as a finish. I mean, you could find different wrestlers that used it as a finish. But you would see pile drivers pretty routinely, even back then. So that's one. God, regular moves that used to be finishers. I feel like the airplane spin at one time used to be a finish that some people would use. DDT, obviously, Jake. I mean, come on, right? So the DDT would be one. I mean, dude, honestly, like, I feel like every move, like there were people that would do like a rising knee lift off the ropes and that would be a finish. So as far as like what the top ones would be, sleeper hold. I think Gunther has brought the sleeper hold back as an actual finish. But like Brutus Beefcake used to use it. Like when I was a kid watching WWF back then, you know, Beefcake, that was his finish. Piper used it as a finish. God, even a lariat. Hogan used the axe bomber when he was in Japan. It was just a clothesline. You know, we don't get anymore. We don't get any atomic drops anymore. Whatever happened to the atomic drop? Let's bring back the atomic drop. I'm going to start a campaign. Hashtag atomic drop. Brian Finelli, Raw truly is the Bloodline show. The rest of the roster gets TV time appearing in all of the ads. It feels that way. It feels like the other wrestlers. It's like, this is the Bloodline show starring the Bloodline, featuring cameos by, and then you could just list the other wrestlers in the roster. Steve Mello is with us. Totally random, but I finally attended the classic Tetris World Championships recently in California, and I placed 121st. Not good, but a dream come true. Hey, you placed better than anybody else in this chat. Because I don't think anybody else here participated in the Tetris World Championship. It actually sounds like fun. Well, congrats, brother. sounds like one of those experiences that you kind of want to do at least once in life. Nobody really ever gets the chance to. I wonder how I would do. See, but you said you ranked 121st, though. You didn't tell me how many people were in the competition, though. 121st. If it's 121st, but there were 122 people, then that's fucking terrible. But if you came in 121 and there were like 500 people, right? It's not bad. Super Pony. Maybe Punk wrestles a returning Kevin Owens at SummerSlam. I'm delusional. We can't have nice things like that. That's the one feud I want for Punk. Outside of the Cody stuff. It's him and KO. We haven't heard anything about him in a while. I don't get the sense he's going to suddenly make a magical return, but I'm here for it. I can't wait to get that match. It's another reason why I want him on SmackDown. And Edward, happy birthday to Bailey. I think next week is do or die for her and Lyra. Then they feud and Bailey leaves, putting Lyra over at the end of the year. I think that was one of my predictions when I did them earlier in the year, is that Bailey would end up going to AEW. I do think there's a very good chance. I don't know exactly when her deal is up. I think it was said to be maybe next year. But I do think there's a decent chance that she will end up leaving and going to AEW. She would have a whole new roster to work with. She's been there for so long in WWE. She's stagnated. And I just feel like her being able to work with a whole new roster of people probably would really freshen things up for her. Anyway, the goal tonight was 400 likes, and we are currently sitting at 515, which is awesome. And so with that being said, let's be the booker.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is now time to be the booker.
So Steve says there were almost 200 people in the Tetris competition. He came in 121st. Hey, you know what? That's still not too bad. It's not great, but it's not too bad. And I remember I used to play Tetris, and then there was Dr. Mario. Or Dr. Mario. Sorry. All right, here we go. Tag team, be the booker. We have Hog and Pig. We have Shanghai Pierce and Tex Slazenger. See how many of you get that reference. The Godwins. Henry and Phineas. They're going to be taking on Braun Strowman and Ricochet. Braun Strowman and Ricochet against the Godwins. Not in my promotion. A zombified guitarist has 54 months of channel membership. Says, I think the arm drag could be a cool signature move. Ricky Steamboat still had the best arm drag to this day. Maxine Dupree is injured. Spin for a second chance. Oh, man, look at that. She's got a broken ankle. Guess we'll have to spin again. See, occasionally injuries do happen here and be the booker. And we just have to go on. We have to move on with things. We have Dana Brooke. Ash by Elegance is with us here and be the booker. All right, so we have Dana Brooke against Tiffany Stratton. How are we feeling about this? This is going to be one of those where I'm going to need some feedback from you guys. Is this a yay or a nay? I'm kind of leaning down on this one. Wow, Maddie says she broke her ankle. I guess we got to put her down. Boy, Maddie is he's gone really dark here. He's gone very dark. All right, that's a buzz from me. We are 0 for 2 so far. Like the Spurs at the beginning of the finals. See what we can do here in our main event. Here we go. We have, oh my God, look who it is, everybody. He appears. Somebody said his name before. Look at this. We got him here in Be the Booker before we ever got him on Monday Night Raw. The former TNA World Heavyweight Champion Joe Hendry has appeared. Yes, he lives, everybody. He lives. Joe Hendry is here. And he is going to be taking on Claudio Castagnoli, the former Ring of Honor World Champion. We got the Ring of Honor World Champion against the TNA World Champion. Man, Claudio is going to wreck his ass. But finally, we got one. We got one. 1 for 3 is not a good night in Be the Booker. That is the only world title he will. No, he was the NXT champion as well. But yes, you are correct. From this point forward, that will be the final world title that Joe Hendry holds. You're not wrong about that. B-Man the champ. Punk goes to SmackDown. WWE sends Kevin Owens to Raw to troll us. Actually, that would be very on brand for them. Owens has bounced back and forth so many times between the two brands. It was like every time they would have a draft, he even talked about this. He goes, every single time he would change brands. They would bounce him back and forth so many times. Can never figure out where he fits and what to do with him. We need him and Punk on the same brand so we can get that match. They're not getting any younger. Time is of the essence with some of these matches. You wait too long, you may not be able to do. Look at Sting and The Undertaker. They waited too long. They could have done it, but they waited too long. Then Sting got hurt. Tomorrow, there's going to be a brand new episode of the Uncrowned Wrestling Show. You're going to have a brand new pod to listen to. As if the sound off wasn't enough. You got a brand new sound off up. If you missed it, I don't know what you're waiting for. Tomorrow, you got Uncrowned. And then tomorrow night, brand new Tuesday Night Titans over on JD's channel. That'll be live on YouTube at 8:30 Eastern. Thankfully, we have no Game 6 to compete with. I was so worried there was going to be a Game 6 tomorrow, but Knicks took care of that. They took care of that. And then Wednesday, we got the Dynamite post show. There's no SmackDown review this week. I will be in Chicago for House of Glory, live on Triller. So I will talk about SmackDown and review SmackDown on the podcast on Sunday. It's kind of a big show, too, because not only do we have some King and Queen of the Ring matches, but we have a WWE Championship match. Naturally. Of course we do. So that's how the rest of the week is shaping up. Just so you know. Joe Hendry could be a cult leader heel where he forces people to believe in him. Wow. It's like the dark version of Joe Hendry. I don't think he's got it in him. I don't know. It's hard for me to imagine him doing that. He does have a new album coming out. At some point in these next couple of months, he said this summer he has a new album that he and WWE put together, a whole bunch of new songs. I don't know if that's why they're holding him out. That's a pretty stupid reason, I think, to hold him out. But apparently, keep your ears peeled. Usually you say keep your eyes peeled. Can you keep your ears peeled? I guess maybe you can. I don't know. But keep your ears peeled because apparently there's a new album coming out. Navy 4181, bring back the Gavin Stomp. You mean the Garvin Stomp. The Gavin is that Gavin Newsom? What Gavin are we talking about here? Gavin McLeod? It's the Garvin Stomp. And you can't do that because Randy Orton took it. Randy Orton stole the Garvin Stomp. It belongs to him now. Luis is with us. Says, the Knicks winning the NBA championship may have pissed Debbie Ryan off. She was rooting for the Spurs. You know, you always mention Debbie Ryan, and you never explain to me who she is. Who is Debbie Ryan? For some reason, every time you mention Debbie Ryan, it makes me think of Jerry Ryan from Deep Space Nine. Just a very different person. So I don't know who that is, but I don't know what else to say. Luis, I appreciate the super chat, though. Why are people mentioning Jelly Roll? Is there some sort of Jelly Roll story here? Let's see. Oh, we do have a Jelly Roll story here from TMZ, everybody. You're going to get breaking news here on the Sound Off. Jelly Roll. Oh, this is so sad. Oh, man. This is just horrible. This is terrible. Jelly Roll has filed for divorce from his wife, Bunny XO. Now, does it say that on her birth certificate is what I would like to know. Bunny XO, that's her name? What's her real name? Bunny XO. Let's find out. Alyssa DeFord. She's the founder of Dumb Blonde Productions and host of the Dumb Blonde podcast. You know, I never revealed this before, but that was going to be the original name of the Sound Off before I changed it. I'm glad somebody picked it up. According to court records obtained by TMZ, Jelly Roll filed for divorce from his wife in May in Tennessee. Well, there you go. So all you ladies out there, Jelly is single now. He's single and ready to mingle. The world no longer makes sense. What is going on, man? Everything's falling apart. Anyway. Be well. Stay safe. I wish I had more positive news to leave you with here. That's kind of a downer. But hey, that's the way it goes sometimes. Be well. Stay safe. I will see you back here live on Wednesday for the Dynamite post show. Hey, but on the flip side, though, I guess that means Bunny XO now is also single and ready to mingle. For those of you who wanted to have a shot, now you have a shot. Let's pray for Kit Wilson's mother since Jelly is single. Oh, man, don't remind me of that. We go from bad to worse here because Spanish Goddess says, thoughts on the Oliver Tree passing. Yeah, I mentioned that on X the other day. I was very surprised to hear that. I know he's only 32. Died in a helicopter crash. And I liked his music. I mean, I still have at least one of his songs. Hurt is probably his favorite song of mine. I have that in my Spotify playlist. He had a very unique sound. So, very sad. Anyway, I'll let you guys go and see you back here on Wednesday for more Sound Off. Of course, tomorrow for Uncrowned. Until then, take care, guys.